The courtroom was silent, a heavy, almost tangible tension hanging in the air. All eyes were on Wade Wilson, the man they called the Deadpool killer. His reputation preceded him, a shadow that loomed large over the proceedings. He had just been sentenced to death for two brutal murders that shook the community to its core. The details of his crimes were gruesome, leaving a scar on the collective psyche of the town. As the judge spoke, delivering the final words of the sentencing, Wilson did something strange, something that we still don't have the answers to. He looked directly at the cameras, his eyes cold and unfeeling, and flashed a hand signal. It was a gesture that seemed almost rehearsed, deliberate. It was quick, but everyone saw it. The gesture was unmistakable, yet its meaning was shrouded in mystery. What did it mean? Was it a message, a threat, or something else entirely? Was it a gang sign? The gesture unsettled those in the courtroom who witnessed it. The possibility that Wilson was connected to a larger, more dangerous network was terrifying. A message to someone outside? Perhaps an accomplice or a follower? The speculation ran wild, each theory more chilling than the last. Or was it just a cruel joke from a man who seemed to enjoy the fear he caused? His tattooed face and sinister smile suggested he took pleasure in the chaos and confusion he sowed. No one knew for sure. The courtroom buzzed with whispered conversations, each person trying to make sense of what they had just seen. But one thing was certain. Wade Wilson was a dangerous man. His actions, both in and out of the courtroom, left no doubt about the threat he posed, and he was going to die for his crimes. The sentence was clear, but the questions he left behind would linger, haunting the community long after he was gone. The chilling gesture, a final act of defiance, would be remembered as a symbol of his dark legacy. Wilson's appearance was unsettling. His presence and appearance alone would make you want to walk on the opposite side of the street. His face was a canvas of dark tattoos, each one seemingly chosen to intimidate. The ink told a story of a man who embraced darkness. A swastika was etched on his cheek, a symbol of hate and division. This particular tattoo was not just a mark, it was a declaration of his beliefs and the chaos he stood for. Dubbed the Deadpool killer as he shares a name with the Marvel character, Wilson was convicted over the murders of Christine Melton, 35, and Diane Ruiz, 43, who prosecutors said he killed for the sake of killing. These markings weren't just for show, they were a reflection of the darkness that lived inside him. Each tattoo was a piece of his identity, a fragment of his soul laid bare for the world to see. Wilson seemed to want people to be afraid of him. His tattoos were his armor, a way to keep people at a distance and to assert his dominance. Prosecutors said the defendant, who also has a Joker-like mouth tattoo, the digits 666 and the words "Bred for War," killed both of the Cape Coral women in the span of a few hours just for the sake of killing, and in the eyes of the law, he was. His tattoos were not just a personal choice, they were evidence of his criminal mindset, a visual representation of his defiance against societal norms and laws. As Wilson walked into the courtroom, his tattoos were on full display, a testament to his life choices and the path he had chosen. The room fell silent, the air thick with tension and unease. The judge's stern gaze never wavered as he took in the sight of Wilson. It was clear that these tattoos were more than just ink. They were a symbol of the darkness that had marked his life. The reactions of those present in the courtroom were a mix of fear, disgust, and curiosity. Wilson was clearly unbothered by his evil crimes. Here's what Wilson did to bring the death penalty upon himself. October's dark days. It all started in October 2019. The then 25-year-old had met Christine Melton and her pal Stephanie Sailors at a local live music bar in Fort Myers, before all heading back to Melton's home together. Sailors subsequently left her pal's house in the morning, which is when the Deadpool killer struck, strangling Melton to death as she slept in her bed, before stealing her car. Just a short time later on the same day, Wilson had fled the property when he saw 43-year-old Diane Ruiz walking down the street, while behind the wheel of Melton's vehicle, and approached her to ask for directions as she walked to work. He managed to lure her into the car, before attacking her as she tried to escape, and also strangling her to death. Ruiz was also horrifically ran over 10 to 20 times, the court heard, with Wilson's biological father claiming that his son wanted to run her over until she looked like spaghetti. The killer then drove Melton's car further and went on to attack his former girlfriend, Melissa Montanez, 41. He then called his father Stephen Testaseca, who gave him up for adoption as a teenager, to confess to his horrid crimes. The dad informed authorities of his son's admissions, and Wilson was arrested on the 8th of October 2019. Wilson remained behind bars without bail until he went on trial and was convicted in June 2024. A father's nightmare. Stephen Testaseca, Wade Wilson's own father, couldn't believe what his son had become. He had given Wilson up for adoption as a baby. They had reconnected when Wilson was older, but their relationship was strained. Then, one day, Wilson called him. He confessed to the murders. At first, Testaseca thought it was a sick joke. His son was known for telling stories. But as Wilson described the killings in detail, Testaseca's blood ran cold. His son was a monster. Empty eyes of a killer. Throughout the trial, Wilson showed no remorse. He sat in the courtroom with a blank expression on his face, his eyes empty and cold. He didn't seem to care about what he had done or the pain he had caused. When the guilty verdict was read, he didn't flinch, and when he was sentenced to death, he simply nodded his head. There were no tears, no apologies, no signs of humanity, just the cold, hard stare of a killer. Christine's light. Christine Melton loved to laugh. Her smile could light up a room. She dreamed of being a mother someday, but Wade Wilson stole that dream from her. Her family was devastated. They would never see her get married, have children, or grow old. All they had left were memories. Memories that would forever be tainted by the brutality of her death. Diane's legacy. Diane Ruiz was the heart of her family. She was a devoted mother who adored her children. She was a true friend, always there to lend a helping hand or a listening ear. Her loss left a gaping hole in the lives of everyone who knew her. Her children would grow up without their mother, her friends would miss her infectious laughter, and the world would be a little less bright without her in it. A community scarred. The murders of Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz sent shockwaves through the community. People were afraid and shocked. How can two innocent women be taken away in such a savage and heartbreaking way? They couldn't understand how someone could do something so horrific. The trial and sentencing of Wade Wilson brought some closure, but the scars remained. The community would never forget the victims or the monster who took them away. Hopefully, the death sentence can be deemed as justice prevailed. One of Ruiz's 19-year-old twin sons, Zane Romero, told how his mother passed away just days before he was due to join his school marching band, adding, "I never got to see her in the crowd. My mom will never get to see me get married." So what do you think of the sentence? Does it reflect the crimes committed? Does Wade Wilson deserve everything he gets? If you want to stay updated on more true crime stories, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Much appreciated. See you in the next video.